What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today we're going to be talking about how Marvin Bagley has revived his career with the Detroit Pistons, and we're going to jump right into the video. And when you look at a guy like Marvin Bagley, this is a guy that was the #1 recruited prospect in his high school class, and then he went on to Duke University to have a one-and-done season. And not only did he have a one-and-done season, but it was a very dominant season. He put up 21 points and 11 rebounds while he played at Duke. And then we fast forward to the 2018 draft. This is a guy that was drafted #2 overall by the Sacramento Kings. And what sticks out to me that he was drafted over superstars today like Trae Young and Luka Doncic. So when you look at Marvin Bagley, he has star potential written all over him. And the start to his NBA career was not ideal at all. And it's really his tenure with the Sacramento Kings. And it's a bunch of reasons to why Marvin Bagley hasn't panned out to what he was supposed to be at, and it's nowhere near too late. He's only 22 years of age, but in Sacramento, he just dealt with a lot of different things like inconsistency. There were points and times where he was inconsistent, and then he was plagued with injuries, and then also there were a couple of different times where him and the organization just wasn't on the same page, and all that stuff plays into a factor of why he isn't developing as quick as people will want him to develop. So that's how we got to where we are now. We fast forward to the 2022 NBA trade deadline, and the Detroit Pistons, my Detroit Pistons, they made a very smart, calculated risk by trading for him. They gave up 2 low-budget veteran players and Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles, and then they gave up a couple of second-round picks in order to bring in Marvin Bagley, who's another guy who has a team-friendly contract. And to me, that was a great trade by Troy Rivers because it's low risk, high reward. We wasn't giving up none of our main core guys. We wasn't giving up first round picks. We wasn't giving up Jeremy Grant. But in return, we're getting a guy who was a former lottery pick, #2 in his draft class, and he's only 22 years of age. And if we can find a way to tap him into his potential, it could be a really great thing for our organization. So I thought it was a great trade by Troy Rivers. I'm really glad he was able to make a big time move, a small move, but a big time move at the NBA trade deadline. So Marvin Bagley, I wouldn't say his career is dead, like he was on his way out of the NBA, but he definitely didn't have the career that a #2 overall draft pick should have. So with the Detroit Pistons, I think a lot of things factor into him kind of reviving his career. When you look at the fresh start, as soon as he heard the news about getting traded to Detroit, he made a heartfelt message on Instagram saying goodbye to Sacramento. But at the end of the message, he made sure to let us know that he was ready to get to Detroit and work with his new teammates. And whenever you got a guy doing things like that, that shows that they want to be here and that he's very excited for this fresh start. And then also another factor that plays into him kind of, reviving his career and starting to turn things around is that he's just a very natural fit. He's a very natural fit for the Detroit Pistons. He fits the role that the role that he's fulfilling on the Detroit Pistons, that fits him. And then also the playing style of the Detroit Pistons fits him as well. And when I talk about his role, something that the Detroit Pistons needed all season long. If you watch the Pistons play, it'd be times where we would put our bench in and they couldn't give us no meaningful production. And since Marvin Bagley has arrived to the team, we've been getting a lot of more bench points, but that's something that his role has been since he's arrived in Detroit. I know it's been 8 games. It's a small sample size, but it's all we have to work with right now. But Marvin Bagley, he's been that #1 scoring option off the bench, and he's been putting in work, just in the post, catching it off the screens, off the pick and roll, getting offensive rebounds, and he's averaging 14 points and 7 rebounds off the bench for the Detroit Pistons. And he has started the last 2 games due to Isaiah Stewart being out. But anyway, so that's how he fits within his role. And then the playing style of the Detroit Pistons. This is a really good fit because Marvin Bagley, what he can do in the pick and roll, helps our two guards and Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes. And then the way Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham, the way they play the pick and roll, benefits Marvin Bagley. And, you know, I've said this in multiple videos that Marvin Bagley is that security blanket for Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes, because before he's arrived to our team, the only real lob threat on our team is Hamidou Diallo, and he's a guy that you cannot play. He's a guy that you cannot play at the dunker position all night long because he's just too small. He's like 6'4", 6'5". So before Marvin Bagley arrived, we had no real lob threat. And now with him on the team, Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes, they have that outlet that they can drop the ball down to whenever they're penetrating to the rim and they're attracting all that traffic. They had Marvin Bagley, and we've seen it so many times this season already that, you know, he's helped their game out tremendously. And then also in the pick and roll, which Cade Cunningham is so dangerous in because there's so many different things he can do off of it. But with Marvin Bagley as his screener, and don't get me wrong, Marvin Bagley isn't the best screener in the NBA. There's a lot of times where he hits nobody with his screen, but just his big body being there and Cade working around it, and then as soon as he rolled, that's what makes him dangerous. And what made Marvin Bagley so dangerous coming out of college, coming out of high school, and coming into the NBA, that is when he gets the ball anywhere from 3 feet or with the 3 feet in, it's a guaranteed bucket. He's one of the best finishers in the NBA, and that's what makes him dangerous on the pick and roll. So now Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes, they're working with somebody that you got to respect when they're rolling to the rim, and that just opens the game up not only for the two guys that's running the two-man game, but it also opened it up for guys like Saddiq Bey and Jeremy Grant, because you're just going to have to play some help defense, and that leads to open threes for our shooters. And Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham, they're some of the best young playmakers in the NBA. So that's gonna, you know, that's benefiting them tremendously. And that's what I've seen from Marvin Bagley since he's been at the Pistons. And don't get me wrong, Marvin Bagley isn't the perfect player. And I think right now his role is gonna be that backup big that give us that spark off the bench, kind of like what Montrezl Harrell is. But if Marvin Bagley, if he want to take a step and be take a step further and be something more than that in the NBA, there's a couple of things he could work on, like defense. Marvin Bagley, he isn't the best rim protector in the league, and he isn't the best defender in the league. And we've seen it against the Chicago Bulls. He did struggle a little bit defensively, but he has the toolkit to be a great NBA defender. He has the long arms, he has the athleticism, and I think all he needs to do is just put more effort onto the defensive side of the ball and maybe bulk up a little bit, maybe 10 or 15 more pounds of muscle. That way he can stand his ground down there, and then he can be a more imposing player on the defensive side of the ball. And then another thing that Marvin Bagley needs to make a habit of is passing out of the double teams. And he is a force on the block. He has some post moves. I've seen him make plenty of great moves on the block for the Detroit Pistons so far this season, but there's been some times where he's been double teamed and he'd try to score on the double team or shoot over it or put up a layup, and sometimes you just got to kick it out. You got to see the double team come and you got to get rid of it before the double team comes, and then you just got to move that ball around. But other than that, Marvin Bagley, he's a great finisher. He runs the floor. Like I said, since he's gotten to the Pistons, our offense just looks a little bit more fluid when he's on the court, because he opens up a lot of things for Cade Cunningham, our shooters, and you know, our other guards. So Marvin Bagley, he's been a great pickup for the Pistons. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below if you think Marvin Bagley has revived his career in Detroit, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.